The court was buzzing, the air electric with anticipation as the clock ticked down. Fans leaned forward, eyes glued to the hardwood, holding their breath as Iowa's Caitlin Clark, basketball's latest sensation, prepared to take on yet another challenge. The crowd had come to expect brilliance from her. She was fearless, sharp, and played like she had fire running through her veins. With her sharp crossovers and precision three-pointers, Clark was more than just a player. She was a phenomenon. But that evening, in what should have been another chapter of her rising stardom, something strange began to unfold, a referee whose calls seemed suspiciously lopsided, making even the most casual observer raise an eyebrow. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. From the jump, there was a different vibe in the arena. It wasn't just the typical tension of a high-stakes game. It was the sort that makes the crowd murmur and exchange sideways glances, sensing that something was off. The referee in question, known in basketball circles for a no-nonsense approach, took center stage and not for the right reasons. It started subtly, an early whistle here, a tight foul there. But the subtleties didn't stay subtle for long. Whispers turned into shouts, and soon the fans were roaring their disapproval. Every call seemed aimed at disrupting Clark's rhythm, and she knew it. Her eyes, normally bright with determination, narrowed into slits, her jaw set in silent protest. Caitlin Clark wasn't just any athlete. She had a way of commanding the game, making her team move like a well-oiled machine. Her confidence was contagious, spreading from teammate to teammate like wildfire. But now, with each blow of the whistle, that fire seemed threatened. The referee's calls grew increasingly baffling, often catching the Iowa star off guard. A bump on her opponent that would normally pass as incidental contact suddenly became a foul. A clean swipe at the ball. Whistle. It didn't matter how obvious the fairness of the play was. Clark was repeatedly left shaking her head, mouth agape in disbelief. The fans weren't just watching. They were living each moment with her. The referee's bias felt personal, like an affront to the spectacle they had all come to witness. Boos rained down from the bleachers, a chorus of frustration echoing through the stadium. Social media lit up as viewers at home jumped into the fray, dissecting the calls frame by frame. The referee, steadfast and expressionless, ignored the growing turmoil. It was as if the game had shifted into an arena where logic didn't apply, where the whistle carried more power than the score. Clark's frustration was palpable, visible in the tense set of her shoulders and the clipped way she dribbled. But even then, she tried to play through it, her competitive nature refusing to let anything, even questionable officiating, break her stride. On a fast break that should have been a highlight, she drove to the basket, weaving through defenders with her characteristic blend of grace and speed. Just as she leaped to release a shot that looked destined for a perfect arc, the whistle shrieked again. Offensive foul. The crowd erupted in protest, voices merging into a single outraged roar. By this point, fans weren't just annoyed, they were enraged. The chants grew louder, calling out the official by name, demanding fairness. Clark, now visibly fuming, exchanged quick words with her coach, who gestured for her to stay calm. It was a tough ask. How does one keep cool when it feels like the rules are being twisted in real time? The cameras captured her muttering under her breath, a mix of disbelief and fire, eyes scanning the court for answers that wouldn't come. The referee's behavior wasn't just affecting the game's flow, it was warping it entirely. Every call seemed strategically timed, as if aimed at removing Clark from her comfort zone, pushing her team into a defensive stance they hadn't planned for. Coaches from both sides looked bewildered, though one was clearly benefiting from the odd enforcement of the rules. Fans exchanged glances of disbelief, shaking their heads as another phantom foul sent Clark back to the bench with foul trouble she hadn't earned. What made it worse was Clark's reputation. She wasn't known for dirty play or sneaky tactics. She was celebrated for her clean, high-energy style and sportsmanship. Her genuine love for the game shone through in her relentless effort on both ends of the court. That night, it seemed as though this reputation was being tested, her skill and composure pitted against an unseen antagonist in the stripes. Still, the basketball prodigy dug deep, as all great competitors do. Every possession became a battle, with Clark recalibrating her game to avoid drawing more whistles. She started to play a step back, less aggressive on defense, careful on offense. The crowd noticed. The opposing team noticed. It was a testament to her adaptability, but it wasn't the same. The spark was dimmed. Yet, even on the back foot, she managed to sink impossible shots, threading passes through needle-thin gaps, refusing to be overshadowed by a whistle that had gone rogue. Amidst the chaos, moments of humor broke through, almost as if the universe needed a breather. At one point, after another mind-boggling call, Clark's teammate threw up her hands in exaggerated confusion, mouthing, "Is this real life?" It was a moment that made the crowd chuckle, a split second of sheer disbelief that underlined just how far the officiating had strayed from the norm. Social media wasn't any calmer. Commentators, fans, former players, they were all shouting into the digital void. Memes popped up, featuring the referee blowing a whistle with a giant no sign over Clark's face or donning exaggerated villain mustaches. One fan posted, "This ref has a vendetta, and it's Clark's season." The online energy mirrored the arena's buzz, reinforcing that this game had become more than a contest of skill. It was now a test of patience, resilience, and sheer willpower. As the game wore on, the implications became clearer. The refereeing was having an impact on the strategy, pushing Iowa into plays they wouldn't typically rely on. Clark, unable to push forward with her usual boldness, had to shift into more of a facilitator role. Passes hit from her hands with precision, yet it was clear she wasn't playing her preferred game. Her frustration peaked when a particularly clean three-pointer, made after a series of tight passes, was waved off due to an alleged moving screen. The look on her face was one for the books, part rage, part incredulity. In the final moments of the quarter, the ref continued the trend, calling a technical foul on Clark for what seemed like a normal bit of back and forth with a defender. The fans lost it. The coach slammed his clipboard down, his face a mix of disbelief and suppressed fury. The players on the bench sat up, mouths open, looking at each other as if trying to confirm they weren't hallucinating. Clark, trying to stay composed, nodded once, eyes fixed ahead as if committing the moment to memory. The fans, sensing that she was being pushed to her limits, shouted louder in support. But for every whistle against her, there was a rebound she clawed down, a pass she delivered with pinpoint accuracy. The game became less about victory and more about defiance, about playing against not just the other team, but the seemingly insurmountable bias wrapped in black and white stripes. Every time she took the ball, the crowd roared louder, a collective plea to let her play. The story wasn't just in the game itself, it was in how Clark responded. Her body language spoke volumes, tense yet proud, frustrated yet undeterred. The way she adjusted, finding new routes to contribute, signaled that she wouldn't back down, even if the calls kept coming. The crowd mirrored her energy, applauding her attempts, booing the ref, and chanting louder with every questionable decision. The players on the opposing side looked caught between trying to stay focused and wondering if they were part of a drama they hadn't signed up for. Humor, as thin as it was, peeked through when Clark, on a fast break, made a show putting her hands up as if to say, "I'm not even touching anyone this time." The crowd caught it and burst into laughter mixed with cheers. Even the opposing bench stifled a few smiles. It was a small moment of levity in a game that had become anything but light. As the final buzzer approached, Clark took a deep breath. She knew that whatever the scoreboard showed, the real story of the game would live on. The ref's calls had taken something from the contest, but they hadn't taken her resolve. She dribbled up one last time, eyes scanning for a play that would count, not just for points, but for the sake of saying, "I'm still here. You can't blow me away with a whistle." The crowd, the fans online, everyone watching knew this game would be talked about long after the final score was posted. They'd remember the roar of protests, the collective gasps, and Clark, standing firm, as if daring the ref to blow that whistle one last time. The game wasn't just played on the court that night, it unfolded in the hearts of everyone who witnessed a star being tested, pushed, yet still shining defiantly. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.